Alright, first off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Makakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word in all sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom. You know, this lesson is pretty much, a reminder to myself, first and foremost, alongside, us that are of the hopeful elect, about what it takes to be a disciple of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Sometimes we tend to be a bit distracted. We get complacent. We get laid back. And it's all part of the spirit. It's something that we go through. We're not always going to be in our best form, so to speak. But at the end of the day, to be a disciple of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, in order to get that kingdom of heaven, tasting of righteousness, thirsting and hungering for righteousness. It requires self-sacrifice. We were raised in Babylon in regards to, being sown in this wicked flesh, and if you should really do a good self-examination, most of the times when it's a case where we're supposed to do something, whether it's follow a precept, fighting with the flesh, or doing a video, practicing the scriptures to the best of your ability, it's always something that we find comfort in. It's always something that's beneficial to the flesh. It's something of self, and it's building of self. And what we should do, as best as we can. We have to do that self-sacrifice, and that includes bearing our cross. Yahushai's flesh was he was a sacrifice, and he was placed upon a cross. We have our cross that we also need to carry, and and that same spiritual cross as well is where we mortify our members. All right, so I'm just gonna get a few quick precepts. Hopefully this is edifying, and I'll begin here in Luke chapter 14. Right, it says, I'll start at verse 25. It says, and there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, and that is the thing, great multitudes. You had a lot of people following him at this time, but as Apostle Gabar said recently, as he was doing the response to Apostle Tahar's video about this is some bullshit, right? He was saying that this thing is not about quantity, it was about quality. And even Yahushua had that mindset. In the book of St. John, it tell you that he did not incline unto men because he knew what was in men, right? And many times, when you had the crowds following for some vain or carnal reason, whether it was food or just to see him do miracles, meaning to be entertained, or whatever the case may be, he would always say things like this, because he knew that not everyone that was there were sincere, and those that were sincere would have a particular spirit, right? It says, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. All right, so let's just look on the word hate right here, because what some people might do is they may hear the word hate and think that it's it's from a grudging or from an evil standpoint, right? Now here it says to pursue with hatred, to detest, to hate, to detest, and then it goes down to say, by extension, to love less. if you even this is the primary use of the word. Let me go down here. Right, it says the signification to love less, to postpone in love or esteem, right? And it goes on, it says, through oversight of the circumstance, that the Orientals, in accordance with their greater stability, are accustomed both to feel and to profess love and hate, where we Occidentals, with our cooler temperament, feel and express nothing more than interest in or disregard and indifference to a thing. So it's in regards to being indifferent, to, or to basically disregard something, to put it aside. Now Yahushai, he put a lot of things to the side. He for one, he loved his mother, as much as he was not a mama's boy, but he loved his mother. And how do we know that? When he was being crucified, he said to John, behold thy mother. And he said to Mary, behold thy son. So pretty much he was saying, hey, take care of each other. He also loved John, which was his friend, right? The devil tempted him to give him a whole kingdom. He forsake that as well. At one point, while he was teaching in the wilderness, the people wanted to take him and make him king. And he fled from them. And being in this flesh, I'm pretty sure that he had, desire for women. He had certain desires. There were things around him that he could have easily, indulged in. But his main mission was righteousness, doing the will of his Father, playing his role, as the son of the heavenly Lord and son of the heavenly Father, and fulfilling his purpose, which is the being a sacrifice, or being the way back for Israel towards the Father Yahweh. So he had to put himself aside. He had to put those things aside, right? Now it says that what? It says, yea, even his own life, which he also gave up his life on the literal cross. It says he cannot be my disciple. Now let's look on the word disciple as well. Right, it says a learner, a pupil, a disciple, right? One who follows one's teaching. Exactly. Because once you start to get the doctrine of Yahweh Shai, it's going to go contrary to what the flesh wants. It's going to go contrary to what is, normal. It says one who follows one's teaching, right? It says Yahushai, in a wide sense, in the Gospels, those among the Jews who favored him joined his party, became his adherents, meaning they listened to him, right? As we listen to him right now. And says, are all those who confess Yahushai as the Messiah. And down here it says, yeah, that was pretty much it on that. So, being in the clubs, chasing all the women, having, the Saturdays, to do what you need to do, constantly, doing videos, constantly reading, constantly fasting, constantly praying, these things require you to, in order to do these things, it means that you have to give up other things, because, you won't have, speaking from personal experience, you won't have time to do everything that you set your mind to. Now, be mindful that there is balance, because it's not that you're going to be plugged in 24/7, 365, but, based on what is required and how, each man's life is different. That is why every man needs to bear his own cross. You know, you have to see where and how, the scriptures are going to be put in a position where it's first priority. And you know that once, those time come, you know, it's time to put everything else to the side. And in the days to come, it's going to be way more, apparent, because it's only about those that are following righteousness. It's only those, everything that's within alignment with righteousness is what we would need to follow. And that's going to come with a lot of persecution. That's going to come with a lot of separation, because, to be honest, most of our families, are of the world. However, if the Lord sees it fit, to open their eyes and deliver them, then that's up to Him. But for us at this point, who are of the hopeful elect, we know what we have to do, because they're going to want to go after the world, and we're going to want to have righteousness, right? Also, our flesh and our bodies will be put to the test, because it may even get to the point where some of us will be put to death, being martyrs. So it's from now, we have to, whenever we're put in a situation as best as is in us, to choose righteousness, to always, try to pray for the Spirit to do what's right, and to grow in the Spirit, the renewing the new man day by day, right? And that's going to come with a lot of hell. Even now, it may not, it's not a, how do I put it? It's not physical as yet for some brothers, right? It's more mental, but it's coming. Now continuing, it says, and verse 27 says, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. All right. So no one will be. You have to bear. We all have to bear our own cross. Now it gives the parable of counting the cost. Right, but I'm going to jump to verse 33, where it says, so likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he had, he cannot be my disciple. And we're going to look on the word forsake. To set apart, to separate oneself, withdraw oneself from anyone, to take leave of, bid farewell to, renounce, forsake. Right? Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. And also on another word that I was supposed to look up here is the word cross. Cannot bear his cross. Right? It says A says, a well-known instrument of most cruel and ignominious punishment, borrowed from the Greeks and Romans, from the Phoenicians. To it were affixed among the Romans down to the time of Constantine the Great the guiltiest criminals, particularly in the body slaves, robbers, and authors and arbiters of insurrections. Funny dish, that word should be placed right here, right? But then as you go down here to the Strong's definition, it says figuratively exposure to death, and it says that is self-denial, right? Self-denial. That's the thing. So we're going to have to deny, refuse or renounce our thoughts, renounce our ways, and that definitely leads back to faith. Because in some situation, let's say for example, we're under that guillotine, the flesh is want to say, what, preserve itself. But having faith look, in the end it's going to be all right. Yahweh Shai warned us of this. This is to our benefit. This is all for righteousness' sake. Even to that point where, you don't take yourself, or we don't take ourselves into account, as long as it's for the righteousness of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's what it boils down to. So, these are some of the things that we should, remind ourselves of whenever we get lazy when it's time to do a video. When we realize that, it's been a while since you have read, a while since you have prayed, a while since we've fasted, a while since we have checked up on brothers, a while since we have checked our conduct, and it's a conscious effort, depending on how long you're in truth. Some things come easier than others, but it's killing the old man. It requires a change. It definitely requires a change. It's a very conscious effort, right? Now, let me get the next precept. This is Matthew 16, verse 24. It says, "Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, If any man come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it." Exactly. Now let's look on the word deny. Right? Right, deny, to affirm that one has no acquaintance or connection with someone, to forget oneself, lose sight of oneself and one's own interest. So it's pretty much a substitution of your comforts, your pleasures, your interest and what you want for the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Which one of the main things right now is building the new man day by day and edifying the elect. Attending in the ministry, both in conduct, i.e. word and deed. Right? Once again, it says to forget oneself, lose sight of oneself and one's own interests. So, I gotta go to work, not saying that, you're not supposed to, work to earn your daily bread. But, not going to work is not an excuse for not doing the true work, which is the teaching of this knowledge. We're men. So, get some discipline. All right? You work between the hours of X time to Y time. All right? Where does the scripture come in? How can I fit this into my day? Get it done. Right? Whether it's for videos, whether it's for going out in the highways and byways. All right? So I remember a while back Apostle Tara said, if it's a case where you can't go out on a Saturday, then hey, find another day in the week to do it. All right? You don't get Saturdays off. Well, how about Monday? How about Sunday? Whenever your day off is, get out there, do the work. I work a lot during the weeks. Do you get lunch? How long is lunch? Do you get break? How long is break? Is there a day, a time in the day? No one works 24/7, 365. And to be honest, we all have times where, even though we work like hell because we're under the curses, you can easily see times where you spend a lot of time, whether before or after work, or even doing work that was just wasted on some other things. Now, not to say that you don't need your downtime or whatever, but just saying that when you really think about it, you can see where we dedicate a whole lot of time into things that won't even matter in a few months from now. You know, a few things that won't even help to the edifying of yourself or even the body. You know, things that don't feed onto the spirit. I know I can. And that is why I said that, you know, this is for myself first and foremost, and, you know, and the rest of the body, you know, the hopeful elect. We really have to think about what it means, you know, in as balanced as possible of a sense of what it means to deny ourselves for the ministry of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, so that we can truly be disciples or followers of Yahweh Shai. Because, you know, Yahweh Shai's life, you know, especially once he started teaching, was dedicated to this ministry, even up until his death. It was always teaching. It's all, you know, he was well learned. He had to study. And of course, he's an exception, right? But nonetheless, you know, even if you want to, he's the best example. But even if you want to use other of our righteous forefathers, like for example the apostles, you know, they studied, they taught as well. You know, when Yahushua left, it was all about teaching and growing in the ministry. You know, in hopes of receiving salvation. That was the goal. That was the goal, Salakia. Some of them had jobs. You know, Paul was a tent maker. You know, while others, you know, would basically benefit from being a part of the ministry. But nonetheless, the main thing was teaching. Yes, did they have laughs? Of course. Was there a bit of a downtime? Of course. But what was the main thing? The main thing was learning these scriptures. The main thing was teaching these scriptures. The main thing was, you know, trying to be you know, be perfect in spirit towards Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. They were tempted. We are tempted. You know, it's all about denying the flesh as much as possible, you know. And you know, I remember reading a book a while back where it spoke about when you're trying to form a new habit, how you want to treat it like a vote. So let's say that, you know, there are 10 ballots. You know, you want to make at least 7 to 8 of those ballots the habit that you want to do, and then, you know, the next 2 would be the times where you slip up. But then again, you work to improve those. And there's always going to be those 2 or 3 ballots that, you know, you'll always, you know, you'll work on, and so you fix one, then another one will come up. So we will never be 100% perfect in the society, but nonetheless, we should, you know, be getting in the habit of putting Yahweh Hashem Yahushai first. That lead on to righteousness. All right. Really hope this is making sense. Really hope that this is edifying. Was there another precept? Luke 14. Let me check this. I think that's what I started out with. No, that wasn't it. It's Matthew 16, which I would have already read. Did I? Right. It's Matthew 28. 11 and 28. Oh, no. This wasn't it. That's another lesson. Alright, so I'll go to Matthew 5 then, and I'll close out with that. Alright, so this is Matthew 5. I'll start at verse 6. It says, "Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, so they shall be filled. Right? Jumping down to verse 10, it says, Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. For rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. All right, and if it's within ourselves, we don't deny ourselves from now with these minor things while we still have food on the table, and while we still have a roof over our head and clothes on our backs, you know where we have little to nothing to worry about. If it's at this point, we don't have the discipline to deny ourselves, what's going to happen when the real trouble and the real persecution comes? Right? I think there's one that says right uh right right, it says blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Let's look on the word persecuted. Right, and it says to make, to run or flee, put to flight, drive away. Right, now based on the context of this scripture, I'm just going to skip around the definitions. The third definition says to be says to pursue in a hostile manner. The third definition says in any way whatsoever to harass, trouble, or molest one. A, to persecute. B, to be mistreated, suffer persecution on account of something. And that is true. Right? Right, it says to be maltreated, suffer persecution on account of something, which is what? Righteousness, which is for Yahushai. Because, in a sense, if you want to be honest, I know a lot of brothers that are mad talented. I know a lot of brothers that are smart, and I know a lot of brothers that, could be doing other things in the world, so to speak, you know, and it's good that we have held up thus far, and we know, as the scripture says, you know um we should endure unto the end, pretty much. He that endureth unto the end, the same shall be saved. So yes, for now we're enduring, but we need to pray for the spirit to endure unto the end. And that is what boils down to. It boils down to making ourselves a living sacrifice. Let me actually get that. I'll close out with that, because Yahushai was crucified on the cross. I actually mentioned it earlier. Right, Romans 12 verse 1, it says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. Right? So there it is. It's our reasonable service. Right? Let me look on the word sacrifice right here. See what comes up. All right, nothing there. Right, it says, and be not conformed, which it says what? Your bodies as a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service, meaning what? Teaching the word. It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed in the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High. Exactly. So it means what? Purging our thoughts day by day. And sometimes we're going to be down. But as I said, we want to ensure that we do as best as possible, because even when you're down, there's a way to react. When you're up, there's a way to react. I always make mention of what David prayed for in the Psalms. When he was down, he would praise, he would ask Yahweh Shemel Shai to lift him up, or when he was in trouble, ask him to deliver him. When he was happy, or when he was in a good stead, he praised the Yahweh Shemel Shai. And when it was a case where he was being when he went off, when he transgressed, he prayed for forgiveness. So in any case, that is that is where we want to be at best, as best as we can. Know what the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is all time, and have a spiritual and an appropriate response to the various trials that will be given us, or are sent our ways. Just like Abraham, he showed self-sacrifice when he decided to give up Isaac, because he knew that, look, you know what, I trust Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And he must have felt some type of way about it, and many other sacrifices, are many other examples of our righteous forefathers. Even when it looked dire, in the Maccabees, the numbers were higher than theirs, but they actually didn't mind their own thing, when they wanted to purge the temple, and tear down the idols from Jerusalem. They weren't thinking about themselves. They were thinking about the glory and the laws and the statutes of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And that's what we should want to see Jerusalem appraising the earth. Should want to see all of this to be destroyed. So what we should be doing is doing what we can do from this side, from a spiritual sense, which is preaching and living to these scriptures to the best of our ability. I think I've gone on enough. I think I even forgot some of the words and definitions that I wanted to look up, but I think the point has been made. Just think about the fact that we need to incorporate self-sacrifice to Yahweh Shem Yahushai in a balanced way. Not super duper Israelites, but with a balance. In the spirit, you always know those situations where you think about it like, yeah, this is a test. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, but for the most part, we will see it. So, hope this was edifying. Want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Bashem Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom to the brothers in the highways and byways pushing this word on sincerity and truth. The sisters, the believers, the helps, the hopeful elect. Shalom.